Pete Fletcher, Star Wars nerd, around the galaxy. His podcast is supreme. He interviews authors and actors and more. His network of shows is beyond the blast door. He posts more on Twitter than mouth breathers snore. He's Pete Fletcher, Star Wars nerd.
The following presentation is part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network.
Here I am. Hey, hello. Welcome to episode number 108 of Around the Galaxy, the Star Wars Fan Talk Show. I'm your host, Pete Fletcher, and we are a part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network. Each week, we bring you a new perspective on Star Wars, whether it's from an author or a creator or an actor or a super fan, or like this week, a podcaster. This week, I'm really excited to bring you a conversation with a gentleman named Chris Ryons. He's one of 4 hosts who rotate around on the Bro Axiom podcast. He's a Philly guy. So be ready for some straight up truth and some opinion. And this guy knows his comic books, and he's been a Star Wars fan for life. So this should be an absolute ton of fun. But before we get started, if this is your first trip with Around the Galaxy, thank you so much for checking us out. We have a great show lined up for you tonight. If this is a return visit, thank you so much for coming back. Hey, before we get started, I also wanted to ask you and remind you to like, subscribe, share, rate, review, tell a friend, call somebody, let somebody know about Around the Galaxy. Let's get this word out about the show and tell your friends. And hey, what better way to spend a Tuesday night than getting to know a fun Star Wars personality? Also, before we get started, I don't normally do this, but I do need to share a sneak peek with you for next week's super mega show. I'm going to show you a quick video, talk about it for a second, and then we're going to bring in Chris.
Yeah, certified daddy.
All right,
you have the energy.
Let's do this again when it's not a filler episode, yeah?
You know, working on Rogue One and working on Mandalorian has been just enormously satisfying for the Star Wars geek in me.
Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Star Wars: The High Republic Show.
So that's going to be next Tuesday, 8 p.m. East. You do not want to miss it. Definitely you want to tell your friends, tell your family, get as many people here as you can, because we're going to be taking your calls as part of the conversation. We're going to be taking your messages, your comments in the chat. We definitely want you to hang out with us next week. But thank you so much for joining us this week, because we have a phenomenal guest for you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Ryons. Chris, thank you so much for joining us, man. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. Thank you. I've never had a robot, bringing my name before. That's awesome. Thank you.
Well, I think I want to thank you for putting up with like 3 minutes of just rambling and introductory stuff to a show. It was a little bit much. So, how you doing? How's life treating you? I know you. So you and I had a chance to hang out a little bit the last couple weeks doing that Blue Bantha Solo 2 thing, man. How's the life been treating you? Been taken off as a celebrity since then, I think.
I don't know what you're talking about. Playing Lando is a tough role to get into master. I'm kidding. No, it was fun. It was so fun, and having my bro Dan with me there, getting to meet all of you guys, like you and Claire, and of course everyone at Blue Bantha Milk, and of course Raven. Oh, dude, it was so awesome. And Adam, had a great time. Time.
It was great. And I have to, for those that didn't see it, can I get you to do maybe just a little bit of Lando? I don't want to put you on the spot, but your Lando is top notch, my friend.
It's okay. I don't know. What do you want me to say? Anything in particular?
I don't. Hey, why don't you introduce Around the Galaxy as Lando? Let's hear that.
Hey everyone, this is Lando Calrissian, and you are watching Around the Galaxy with the best Jabba the Hutt there ever was, Pleat Fetzer.
Awesome. That's great. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Show's done. Everybody, thank you for coming. We're done. We're going to cut tape here and roll from there. That's great. So, hey, so for those people who may not know you, tell us a little bit about you and tell us about Broaxium.
Well, my name is Chris Ryons, part of Broaxium. I've been a Star Wars fan my entire life. I was born in 75, so, I don't remember the first 2 years of my life. Star Wars is like my first memories, and that's just how it's always been. And here I am. With Broaxium, we started in 2018. I work at a comic shop in Philly called Atomic City Comics, and so I was able to, get the comic books early, like at least a day early, and read them. And Dan and I have been doing our reviews and stuff. It's been a blast ever since.
Yeah, and there's with the resurgence of Star Wars comics. I guess when was that? I guess was that
2015.
2015.
Yeah,
and. Were you into comics before you started working in the comic book shop?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not as much as I was once I started working there, because it was like, but before then it was just like Superman is my guy. So I was always a big Superman fan. And I read I read the Star Wars comics from Dark Horse and then into Marvel. But then once I started working at the shop, man, it was such a huge world was opened up to me. The intricacies of the comic book industry and things like that, and the different artists and writers and whatnot. And dude, it's so huge. Huge. I love it.
It's interesting too. The Star Wars has kind of chosen to tell so much of the story in the comic book side of things. Now, you said that you're into all kinds of different comics outside of Star Wars. What's some of the comics that you're most into?
I'm a DC guy, so of course, any comic that has soups in it, I'm in it. Teen Titans. What else? What else do I read? A couple of different IP ones, like Transformers. I'll read those. I'll do those. Man, what else am I reading? Like anything DC. Nightwing. I'm reading, like I said, Teen Titans, Titans Academy right now with the Infinite Frontier thing they're doing. I've never been a huge Batman reader, but I am now with this current run that they're doing. It's been incredible. Yeah, there's so many different books out there. So many.
I think that's one of the reasons why I was really into comics back in the mid 90s, like when Spawn first came out and the original Image lines. I had like Savage Dragon. I had all those piled up, and I ended up selling them. But did you get anything for them? Because I know some of those are kind of not as much as I expected, but
that's the 90s.
That's not right. Because it was interesting too, because it was that time when everybody, because I think baseball cards had sort of come and gone and peaked, right? And everybody was like, I am not going to miss that opportunity again. So everybody, I remember I had like 4 copies of Spawn #1. I had all the, was it the Death of Batman or whatever, when Bane came in and broke his back?
Yeah, when he broke his back.
Yeah, I had multiple copies of every single Nightfall, right?
Yep.
I had multiple copies of every one of those. Worth nothing. Worth nothing.
I remember when I went into the comic shop, that my local comic shop back then was called Comics and More, when I grew up in King of Prussia, and I remember like one of the guys on the football team was like, Chris, they're killing off Superman, and I was like, what? They're like, yeah, the comic comes out today. I'm like, oh, cool. I'll go there next week and pick it up. I went to the comic shop and I was like, hey, do you have the one, the comic where Superman dies? And they all laughed at me. I was like, okay. I'll just, just let me know what happened. But so I really started becoming an avid collector when the Reign of the Superman series came out, where there were these 4 Supermen who were vying for, the role of Superman.
Right.
So that's what got me into it and stuck into it. And the Nightfall stuff was happening at the same time. So that was just a really great time to get in comics, and I've been with it ever since.
That's phenomenal. And again, there's some great stories, and again, it's interesting that sort of Star Wars is coming around to that. I think where you have an interesting DC to Star Wars connection is hey, there it is. The fact that you have what I guess where I'm going with this is this whole Star Wars sort of Twitter connection right now with the victory, if you will, of the release of the Snyder Cut. As a DC fan and as a film fan, first of all, what's your thoughts on the fandom having that kind of influence, and did they really have the influence that they believe they did? Because I kind of go back and forth on that. What's your thoughts?
I don't know if I mean the fans definitely, you know, paved the way for the release of this of the Snyder Cut finally. But I just think I don't know if it was Warner Brothers' part. They're like, this is just the right thing to do, or they're just trying to, you know, make some money off of whatever. But
right.
I think it was a fantastic thing to do so that Zack Snyder could get his vision out there. Considering what the old, you know, the Whedon version of Justice League was, and it was a complete departure from what he was, you know, what he had in mind. And it came out. It was just you could tell. It was just it was 4 hours. Whatever, I sat through it, but it was a superior flick. Man, I love that movie. Love it. Like to me, Man of Steel is a masterpiece, and I love Batman v Superman, like the Ultimate Edition that had the 3-hour 3-hour cut. That, you know, a nice coherent story. You know, finally. Yep. So yeah, I love that.
Do you think, first of all, thank you, Blue Bantha Milk, for the super chat. Love that. Reign of Superman. Yes, that I believe, Chris, that was where they all fought with different umbrellas.
Yes, and
they tried to dancing. Wasn't that?
Yeah, and they tried to dodge the raindrops, and it got real tough. But,
they were all. It was like kryptonite. It was real. It was
kryptonite raindrops, like chubby rain.
but one of the things that's most interesting is this whole concept of director's cuts and different versions. And I actually think I tweeted about this, and this is quickly becoming a DC episode of Around the Galaxy, but that's okay. It's interesting because I think this may be the beginning of the give me the X, you know, this person's cut or that person's cut, and to me it's a slippery slope. How do you feel about that? You know,
I don't think, like, someone was saying like, oh well, someone was saying, I think it was last week, someone was saying like, well, what's to stop them from doing Colin Trevorrow's cut of 9 or this or that? I'm like, no, I think the Zack Snyder thing was a very specific issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he didn't get a chance to finish it because of an unfortunate passing of his daughter.
Right.
You know, and then they came in and tried to Marvelize this DC movie. I'm like, it doesn't work. It works for Marvel. It doesn't work for DC. DC's got to have their own flavor. You know, fans need to understand that. But no, I don't think it would work for any other movie. Like, you know, that some people may not have liked it. Like, well, I want to see this person's version of it. Like, I don't think that's going to be a thing.
No, I think one of the arguments is, like, for example, Blade Runner is probably my favorite non-Star Wars movie would be Blade Runner. But there's 3 or 4 different cuts of that, and I never am really sure which one I'm going to be watching. But it is interesting too, because that is the big difference, I think, between DC and Marvel. And I think the comic book fan, right? So I look at somebody like my son, 8 years old, loves Batman, but there's no way I can let him watch, you know, I can't even let him watch The Dark Knight, because and that's my favorite movie, my favorite comic book movie of all time. But DC's got that grit. It's got that different feel. Marvel is it's not worse at all. I mean, I love the Marvel films. I love everything we're seeing, but it's a completely different sense. I think people just want to lump comic book movies, superhero movies together, and you really can't do that.
Right. And as far as DC goes, DC to me is more fantastical than it is gritty. Like the Batman stuff is definitely gritty. That's just one style, you know, like Christopher Nolan's style and Zack Snyder's style. Yeah, those can get gritty and maybe a little more on the dour side. But there are plenty of lightheartedness to the DC universe. Yeah, those are just like two styles of filmmakers who are working at universe. Someone could definitely do that with Marvel. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely can do that with Marvel. Yeah, but you know, they've got their formula. They're sticking to it, and it is good, and it's working. Like, it's working. So you know, why stop?
Yeah. And I think to actually bring this towards Star Wars is interesting to see the way storytelling is evolving, right? Because I think Star Wars, the original, both of the original trilogies, the OT and the prequel trilogy, that was serialized, but in 2-hour buckets. And now we're seeing with the evolution of streaming television. Streaming is almost becoming the new way to tell comic book type stories. What's your thoughts on as Star Wars as an opportunity to be told in streaming? Is that the right place for it? Or
yes, absolutely. I'm the kind of person where when it comes to Star Wars, and I guess I am a shill because I'm like, just give me Star Wars in any denomination. Give me Star Wars. I don't care. I read the books. Like I listen to the audiobooks. I read the comics. I watch the shows. I watch the movies, of course. And all the different TV series. Give me in any way. But no, I love that they have this series so they could really dive into this world and really flesh out this world more than what we get with the movies. And the movies, as great as they are, it kind of does confine things, and that's why it's good to have the comics and the novels and these TV series to flesh out this universe even more.
Yeah. I think what's also interesting too is with the comics are, if you don't keep up with, I don't keep up with the comics, and I wish I did. There's a lot. Well, yeah, and as you were saying, there's so much different Star Wars content. You kind of have to be like, Alex and Molly from Star Wars Explained, and that's your full-time job, or you have to pick what you're going to pick. And I think audiobooks, now that we're not driving as much thanks to pandemic, I'm behind on my Star Wars books because I was listening to them while I was driving. But the comics, I think Disney's biggest challenge and Lucasfilm's biggest challenge is not leaving things out that end up having to be told in the comics, right? Whereas you have literally 100 years of DC and Marvel, right? Almost 100 years of Superman and all your different comic book heroes. So you have different versions of the story, but they need to make sure there's that continuity and that you don't lose anything. Do you find that you watch a movie or an animated show and go to the comic books to get additional information, or do you feel like they can cooperate on their own?
They can operate on their own, but like every piece is like a puzzle, and every piece just fits in. The story group is doing a bang up job of keeping everything in line. Yeah, there are a couple little discrepancies here and there. I think, what was it? There was something that was, I can't think of it right now, but there was something that was done differently. I think it may have been in Clone Wars. No. I think it was one of the novels as compared to one of the comics, Catalyst, the Rogue One novel. And I think there was something different in that one that was told differently, and I think in a comic or in another book or something like that. And that's going to happen. There's going to be some jumbling on the wires here and there, but for the most part, they keep it intact, and they do a fantastic job.
Yeah, and I think that is definitely one of the challenges. I can't keep up with. I'm afraid I'm going to ask two guests the same exact question 2 weeks in a row. I don't know how the hell the story group keeps it together.
Yeah, Matt and like Leland Chi and those guys. Oh God, they kill it. They kill it. I love it.
So you do see all these things around theorizing, and to your point, you do end up with people saying, well, this couldn't happen because I saw this happen in the comic book, right? Or I watched the animated series and I know that this is what this character does or that character does. How do you respond when you start seeing things like today? We were very fortunate we had 2 days in a row of Star Wars news, and this is not a Star Wars news show,
right?
But we got to talk about it. You got the Kenobi series, and you got the Bad Batch trailer that dropped today. And there's character, like we saw this new character, Omega, that is a kid, and immediately the speculation begins. Do you play the speculation game yourself?
No. Like I hope some things work out. Like I hope Finn was going to be a Jedi. But
but they did.
But as far as this girl, her name's Omega. Did they say she was a clone, or is it just? It's just.
We don't know.
That she's
Well, we have like 8 seconds worth of screen time, and immediately people have already gone to she's Palpatine's clone. She's, somebody tweeted the funniest thing. They said, I miss the days when every new character was Rey or Rey's mom.
All right, that was the first thing I said. Like, they're gonna think that's Rey's mom. I'm like, Rey's mom. That's who Omega is. It's Rey's mom. But I think there's a great possibility that this is like one of the first steps as far as doing that Palpatine clone. Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. And I'm all for it. Anything that'll make sense of and link things together, make it happen.
Yeah.
Do it. Make it work.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's been really great. One of the things that I try to keep in mind is, because look, you had the Brady Bunch picture for the Kenobi cast, and it was all kinds of Raven saying Finn is a Jedi where it counts. I don't know what that means exactly, but I'm guessing she means in his heart, right? Is that what she's going with?
I don't know if she's going there.
She might not be going there now. But people want to believe that they see an actress or an actor and they're like, this character, this is that's a young Ahsoka, or this is Satine or whatever. And how many times have we been wrong with that? Like, how many times have we tried to jump into the speculation and been wrong with it? But the key point is we've never been dissatisfied. Right. I mean, has there been a Star Wars character that you were like so convinced that it's going to be this or that, or somebody that we knew was coming, and you were let down? You're like,
oh man. Okay, I'll give you one where like it was something totally different, and I was so okay with it. In the game Jedi Fallen Order, and I think it's the Ninth Sister, who's one of the Inquisitors. Like myself, my partner Dan, we thought we're like, that's Barriss. We're like, that's Barriss. It's like, it's gotta be. Even one of our quick shots, like one of our quick shot Star Wars comic preview shows, Dan put in one of the when we were reviewing one of the Jedi Fallen Order comics. He's like, so the Ninth Sister or Barriss, so we were convinced. We were convinced that was her. And then when I played through the game, I love that game. When we played through the game and it wasn't, I was like, oh, it's not her. But this is still really good. Like what they did with that character. Oh, so yeah.
Jedi Fallen Order is one of those rare games that I as I was saying before, I have the attention span of a housefly, which is very challenging, which is probably why I spend so much time on Twitter. But it's one of the few games where I've gone through it twice, and it's because the story is so rich, and again, this unique connection. And I think there actually is some sort of connection to what I was saying before, is like, Star Wars is giving you one story, whereas DC and now Marvel is about to play in this sort of multiverse kind of concept. And a couple months ago, there was the clickbait sites claiming that we were looking at a Star Wars multiverse. As a comic book guy, what's your thoughts on the possibility of a Star Wars multiverse?
I hate. If there's one thing I hate being, is a rigid stickler. Like the OT only crowd, or that can't get past the original trilogy and don't like anything that's new.
Right.
But when it comes to Star Wars, it should probably be in the one universe. Like, take stuff from Legends, like, cherry pick from Legends and throw it into this main story. I think the only way I would like a multiverse if it was the Banthaverse. That is the only other universe I will accept for Star Wars, and it's the Banthaverse without question.
I can't disagree with that at all. But it does have to be like, I agree. If you're going to have alternate Star Wars stories, it has to be kind of kooky and kind of just crazy and just and it is funny because one of the things that I've just come to terms with DC, and I think it's because of HBO Max, and I've been digging into some of the DC stuff that I never saw before. My extension with DC was the Nolan Batman series, the Keaton, or the Tim Burton Batman, and Teen Titans Go, which by the way, I love Teen Titans Go, and I don't care. I will say it. I am a proud fan of Teen Titans Go.
It's good. It's good. People just came off of that regular Teen Titans cartoon, and then to that Teen Titans Go, and I'm like, this is all kiddie and it's goofy. I'm like, it's still good. It's goofy.
Well, the funny thing is, as I've started yeah, as I've started digging into this DC, like the content that's whether it's the Titans show or any of the stuff, like they've done something really unique that it would be difficult for Star Wars to do, and that is basically they say to whoever is making it, here's your characters, here's the basic rules, do what you want with it. I mean, the fact that we've gotten in our lifetime, Chris, in our lifetime, we've had 4 excellent or at least very unique Jokers, if not more, right? You go back to Nicholson, you had a Heath Ledger, which to me is probably one of my favorite villains in a movie of all time. Even Jared Leto, who I'm not sure where it's going. I feel like there's a chance for it to work, but and of course Hamill and all those, but you couldn't do that in Star Wars. I don't think you can't have 6 different types of Vader, right?
No, well, I mean, if they're going to do just like with the Solo movie, they got to bring out a new actor for Han,
right?
They got to bring out a new actor for Han. It's not a new Han; it's the same character, it's just another person playing that character. So,
right,
but when it comes to like DC and stuff like that, there's so many different iterations of those characters. Even Leto has played 2 different iterations. If you think about it,
right?
So,
right,
like, and I really like the one from Zack Snyder JL. Like I love this Joker from that. Like, oh, give me more.
Yeah, that was like that gave me hope for that version. But even like to your point, it's really interesting, right? Because and that's the difference between a Star Wars universe and a traditional comic book universe is Alden Ehrenreich, while he wasn't Harrison Ford, didn't try to do an impression of Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
but he captured what Han Solo is.
Absolutely.
Donald Glover didn't try to do it. Well, he probably did a little bit of an impression of Billy D, but he captured the essence, right? I mean,
I didn't catch. Well, he was definitely his version of cool and his version of smooth. Right. But I don't know if Glover was trying to imitate Lando in any way.
Yeah,
I just to me he didn't sound like Billy D. He sounded like Donald Glover, but an extra smooth. Yeah, extra cool Donald Glover. So so I dug that. I love his version of Lando as well.
But so I can agree with that. But that's the difference. But he captured like there's an essence of the character that you have to have. Whereas with DC, it feels like here's the rules of the character. Yeah. But you can bring it. I mean, we're about to see, I think, like a 3rd version of Harley Quinn from the same actress, right?
For the Suicide Squad,
right?
I can't wait to see how she differs from that other. Yeah, it is her third iteration, isn't it? I forgot about the Birds of Prey movie,
because the Birds of Prey movie was very different than what she was in Suicide Squad.
It was all linked. It's all linked. It's just other people taking their liberties with the character a little bit, but this one may be a different iteration.
I mean, I could be wrong, but she is very funny. And then, of course, then there's but again, at the end of the day, I think where I'm going with this is the fact that Star Wars, even with its comic books, even with the novels that come out every 25 minutes, it's hard to Banthaverse Lando is
my man Tommy.
Definitively. You're still getting the same story, and I think that's a challenge for somebody like me who's not a comic book guy by just what I go with, because I feel like the comic books breathe a different type of life into the characters, but yet somehow they still say the same. Are you getting that similar essence?
Absolutely. When I remember, like, I'll take Princess Leia for example. Not like she was one note in the original trilogy, but once the acquisition happened and those writers got a hold of Leia, man, did they make her an even more an even stronger and more important character than I think she ever was before. And she was already iconic and very important, but man, did they really stepped that character up so much more and made her like a true force to be reckoned with. So I love what they did with her.
Yeah, it gives you that opportunity to expand that background. Now, how did you feel about, were you an extended universe guy? And when that stuff became decanonized and Legends, what was your thought on that?
I wasn't a huge Legends person. I'm sorry, Tommy. I'm sorry, but he knows. But so I read the Heir to the Empire trilogy. I've read a little bit of Truce of Bakura, and then I fell off at the Courtship of Princess Leia. Then they started to get a little weird to me.
Yeah.
But I was totally into the Dark Horse comics, with like the stories of Nomi Sunrider, Exar Kun, and Ula Keldroma and Kay Keldroma, all that stuff. So good. So good.
Yeah. And I think that's what I'm excited about, is the cherry picking, right? I think somebody, Star Wars Savage said, your buddy said, Revan is canon now as of Skywalker, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these things that Thrawn coming back to me was fantastic and perfect and the right way to do it. And so, so that's
as long as they can, if they make it, they can take these characters and make them and weave them in perfectly to what's already established as far as canon goes. I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I'm all for it. And there's a ton of those characters that I may not know about, like as far as the expanded universe goes. But whenever they bring them in, they fit. Like there's a character named Baylor Valance, who is he's got his own series right now, his own comic series, Bounty Hunters, Star Wars Bounty Hunters.
Yep. And
the way he looked, at first I was like, this doesn't work for Star Wars. Like he looks like almost like a T-800, like from Terminator, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like ripped off like half his face, and it's like half his metallic and stuff, and he like shoots lasers from his hands. And I was like, it's not gonna work. And then I was like, this is just dumb. And then I read that first comic, and I was like, no, I was absolutely totally wrong. He's a damn good character, and I. Hopefully we get to see like a live action version of him, maybe in Mando or something like that. That'd be dope if he survives. So, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Are you keeping up with the High Republic?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's the only comic book series in Star Wars that I've kept current with. And I think it's
a great starting point for anyone, and that's the one thing like Dan and I will always say is, where should I go as far as comic books? Where should I start?
Mm-hmm.
Like, start anywhere, and that goes for anything like the movies, the TV series, anything. Where should I start? Start anywhere.
Yeah.
The Star Wars saga literally started in the middle. So really, you can go anywhere with it, and just if you like what you've read, keep going forward. If you want to know how that came to be, go back and read some other stuff. So, yeah, I'm all about it.
That's a great point. And I think I need to take that advice. And I think a lot of other people should definitely take that advice, is with comic books, especially. And it doesn't, whether it's Star Wars or any comic book series, you can say, if you like where you start, you do have that option in a couple of weeks. The next one's coming, go back and follow it. And and I think it's an interesting challenge with the overload of entertainment we have right now, right? It took me years to go back and watch Breaking Bad, for example, for the first time, just because I felt like I missed it. Like it's gone, I've missed it, it's gone past. But you can only you forget that you can go back and you can start those over and get through them. In fact, sometimes it's better if you wait till everybody's seen them, so it kind of falls away and then comes back.
I played some serious catch up on that one, and I was mad at myself because I was watching episodes like every day. I'm like, this is great, I love this. And then I got caught up by the time the fifth season started, that last season, and then I had to wait week to week, and I was like, this is not good. I should have waited.
I had the same problem with Game of Thrones. It took me forever to get started, and then I think it was the beginning of season 6. I watched the previous 5 seasons in like a couple months, like back to back. And then when I had to wait to the next week, I was like, this is killing me. I can't do this.
Yeah.
But I think that there's, back to Star Wars, I think one of the most important lessons that Disney has learned is you stream a series week to week. You do not do it all at once.
Yeah, I was like, I have zero willpower. So if they were to ever bring out a whole series in one shot, my legs are going to be numb because I'm going to watch that entire thing. Just give me all the Star Wars. But no, I think it's better that way. As bad as speculations and things like that can get, it's great conversations to have that week leading up to the next episode to see if anything that you thought of came to fruition. So I dig it.
Yeah, it's like those 3 years that we used to have to wait between movies compressed into 1 week, and I think that's when the Star Wars Twitter community works best, is when we're in the middle of these series, because nobody's like focusing on Last Jedi for a minute, right? We don't have to fight about whether you liked it or you didn't like it. We can talk about what just happened in Mando. Was that Boba Fett? Holy crap!
Right.
And not. Right. I think maybe gaps in time that are too long are really bad for the Star Wars community.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. So I would say release a new movie every week, and give me a show every day.
Yeah, sure. I'm ready for it.
Give me a show and a comic every day. I'm good.
I don't think that's asking too much, Chris. I think
I don't. Hey.
I think you're being very reasonable.
Listen, Pete, we may be around the same age. I'm 46. So I was there. I was 8 years old when Return of the Jedi came out, and then there was that 16-year gap.
Yep.
Of nothing as far as live action stuff like that before, except for the Ewok movies.
Yeah. Which you'll get next week on Disney Plus.
I'll be watching them. Before the prequels came out. So I'm at a point where I'm just like, I've been starved long enough. Just shovel it all in my face. give me all the Star Wars.
Give me all the Star Wars. Now, what is it about Star Wars that, as a guy who likes multiple genres, what is it about Star Wars that just captures it? Because I loved Battlestar Galactica. I love Lord of the Rings. I love Game of Thrones. I love Marvel. But I'm not ravenous about it. What is it about Star Wars to you that pulls you in?
I wish I could tell you. It got me hooked at the age of 2, and it was over. It was over. Star Wars, people say, "Are you a Star Wars fan?" I'm like, I'm a Star Wars devotee. Like that's just where I am with that. Star Wars is home. That's just Star Wars is family. So, nothing else hits me like that. Nothing else hits me. As big as a Superman fan as I am, nothing else hits me like that.
It's interesting too, because one of the questions I used to ask on the show before Mando started was, now that the Skywalker saga is over, what do you need to have in the story to make it Star Wars? And I think it's still a relevant question. So what needs to be in a Star Wars book, movie, TV show to make it Star Wars and not Dune or Battlestar Galactica or some Flash Gordon?
I guess those basic tenets of Star Wars storytelling, but yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. As long as you've got really good characters, great relationships, and it's a good connected story, sky's the limit with whatever you want to do for a Star Wars story. I think, it doesn't. You don't have to mention the Skywalkers. You don't have to put in callback dialogue from other movies or anything like that. Make new traditions with it. So yeah.
I love that, and I think it does feel like there are new. When
JD, definitely the Force. I mean, someone should mention the Force. Yes, absolutely.
JD says the Force. Yeah, and it's not wrong, but I do think Boba Fett eating chicken. Absolutely, Daniel, 100%. If you don't know what that's about, go check out the Banthaverse Solo 2. It's ridiculous. I had to beat Jabba the Hutt, and I barely pulled it off. We had Chris.
No, you did not. You were the best Jabba the Hutt ever. And how many times I have to say it?
I don't know, man. It's not hitting me, but I believe you. If you believe it, I believe it. But Banthaverse, freaking hilarious. Go watch that. That's amazing. But it is interesting because there's a certain mysticism that needs to be there, but I don't know. For example, even with Mandalorian, I had no expectation of Baby Yoda. I had no expectation of there being anything to do with the Force, but yet it became a really important piece, even though it wasn't an overpowering piece. So there is that sort of sense of that shared religion, if you will, of the galaxy needs to be there. So I think JD had a good point with that.
And if they do stuff there's another separate story not connected to the Skywalkers that deals with the Force, you don't even have to deal with the Jedi. There, if Rogue One had showed us anything, there are so many, and Dr. Aphra. There are so many different Force religions out there, like the Ordo Aspectu and religions based around the Force, where it's not just the Jedi and the Sith. There's so many different like stories that can be told. You could do straight up martial arts stories with Conja Club.
Yep.
With the guys from the raid. That'd be that'd be so dope. So you can do that. There's probably my favorite Force collector, and it's this kid who has he all his life he's have like horrible headaches, and when it finally unlocks, what he has is like whenever he touches something, he can get a horrible headache. He's got that Force psychometry that Cal Kestis has from Jedi Fallen Order, and like by the end of the book, spoilers. By the end of the book, he is going around like he's got he's got a handle on his abilities. So his job as a Force user, not as a Jedi or anything like that, but as a Force user, is to go around and find out the history of the Force or the history of the galaxy that maybe the Empire, had their propaganda and made the Jedi look bad, or we don't know like why the Clone Wars had happened and what the Empire was really like. But if he can touch these different objects and get that history, and that's what he's going to be doing. That's his job, is just going around the galaxy and finding all this stuff. I think that's great. I want to see more of that kind of stuff. But like people who have like Force specialties and things like that. I think that'd be dope.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think there's just like that again, that sort of shared, whether they understand it or not, right, or whatever they call it, right. I mean, even we saw it in Clone Wars with the Night Sisters calling it the Icor, right? It was like it was his own thing. It was so that's
and like the Knights of Ren. There's a Rise of Kylo Ren comic book that shows like his when he leaves Luke's academy and he joins the Knights of Ren.
Right.
They're all dark side. Well, I can't even say dark side, but they're all Force users in the Knights of Ren, like to varying degrees. And they don't call it the Force. They don't call it the dark side. They call it the shadow.
Right.
Everyone's got a different iteration of the Force, and it is great that we get to see that. Not just a narrow-minded, dogmatic view of the Jedi.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think all this was set up very nicely, even in whether you like Last Jedi or not. I happen to really love it. It did set up that kind of, this is not what the Force is, and the Jedi did not own the Force, and that expands this universe so much. And I think that's a great thing to be able to explore. So
absolutely
cool. Well, Chris, I don't know how often you watch the show, but we do have this thing we call the 10 question segment. So if you're ready, I want to hit you up with them. They're not trivia questions. You're going to be fine. You're good.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Get ready!
Okay. For what?
All right. Here we go. There's, as I tell all my guests, there's no wrong answers, and I won't judge you, but I can't guarantee that the people watching won't. So let's start it with, which is perfect because I know you're a Disney shill, and you're.
That's right. I get all the Disney money.
Oh, they've been looking for somebody like you. Yeah. They can they can count on you to suck it up. So Disney's watching. So what is your favorite Star Wars movie, TV show, or book?
Star Wars movie, I can't pick one. It's all one story to me. I can't. All right, the one I watched the most, is Return of the Jedi.
Really? Cool.
Yeah. TV show, it's probably going to be Lando. And book definitely Force Collector is my favorite book.
That's great. It's funny. I've done this show so many times, 108 episodes, and Force Collector's never been selected. That's great. And I haven't read it, so I'm going to have to check it out.
Good.
So,
it's good.
Maybe once I start driving, I can get an audio version of it. So,
yeah.
What Star Wars planet?
Cloud City.
Cloud City. Of course, Lando's got to like Cloud City. Of course.
I mean, that's just the ultimate retirement spot would be Cloud City or Naboo. Probably those two.
Yeah.
Probably those two. Or Mustafar.
That's a nice place to
After.
visit, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would want to see Mustafar just because I want to, it's the room where it happens, right? I want to see where that whole thing went down, right?
Right.
So, yeah. But we talked DC and Marvel. Let's have a whole Hamilton conversation right here, right now. No, we're not going to. We're not. If my daughter were here, she would, but we're not. So, question number 3: would you consider yourself Rebel or Imperial?
I think it would depend on the day.
The day that we have to deal with.
I mean, the Empire's got better. They got better stuff.
True.
Better uniforms. But if you're working for Lord Vader, you mess up his coffee, you're a dead man. So I maybe Saw Gerrera's Partisans.
Oh, there you go. That's cool. And by the way, did we see Saw Gerrera in the?
Yes, we did.
Trailer.
We did. If I could do one speculation thing,
please let's speculate away.
So in the
even
comics,
though you did, I do want to point out you did say earlier you don't do theory. So
yeah,
I'm just reminding you of what you said.
It's just a connection that I see that I think may come to fruition. But all right, so for Bad Batch, all right, and, you have these specialty clone troopers. There's the big guy, there's a sniper, there's the one with the knife, yada yada, all that stuff.
Yep.
Now, in the comics, there is Scar Squadron, headed up by Commander or Captain Creel, is his name. Now, he's a regular human. Now we've seen his face. His team, the task force, the Scar Squadron, we never seen them, but each of their physicalities matches the Bad Batch. And the Bad Batch is called Clone Force 99. Scar Squadron is called Task Force 99. So, and this is one of the things I love about Clone Wars storytelling is no story, unless you're Palpatine, no story ends well as far as the end of the Clone Wars go.
That's true.
So I don't see I don't see this story, as dope as it's going to be, I don't see this story ending on the high note is, that the Empire gets defeated. But I do think that they're going to become that Imperial special force.
That's really cool. That's a cool bit of speculation. That's great. And that's what's great about Star Wars is that you can speculate, and
as long as you don't hold on to your speculations, like like if it doesn't go that way, then this whole movie sucks or something like that.
That's a great. I think that's really. But so a guy named Eric Eric Montas, who edited my fan fiction novelization of Phantom Menace, he and I talked a lot about. So when I walked out of The Last Jedi the first time, I said it was both the best and worst Star Wars movie I'd ever seen, and there are multiple reasons for that. But the biggest, one of the things that he said, and he's right, is one of the reasons I probably was disappointed in it, and eventually, as I just said, I've come around as one of my favorites. Was because I had written the story in my head and it didn't happen the way I expected it to. And I mean, geez, Luke even said in the film, in the trailer, this is not going the way did you expect it. But I think you're right. I think that is the biggest challenge with speculation is we begin to believe our own stories and the way it's going to go. And it takes, this may come out wrong, but it takes a certain level of maturity to be able to accept that. Right. If you don't like the way Luke Skywalker was portrayed in The Last Jedi because he wasn't the guy from the comics or the guy from the Heir to the Empire books or whatever,
right? You
got to realize that's the story that's been told.
Yeah.
Suck it up and move on. Right. Just because you don't like what they did with Luke, you're as Kylo Ren said, you're still hanging on. You got to let go. Right. So,
you're still hanging on. Let go. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh man, I had something I was going to say, then I kind of lost it. But you should never get too latched into any of those speculations and whatnot. You've got to, keep it free. And the one thing is, like, Luke was he was pretty much Superman in some of the expanded universe stuff. Yeah. And then people were upset that he changed from Return of the Jedi, and I was like, who's going to be the same person 30 years later?
Right.
I'm not the same person I was from last year.
Right.
around this time.
Yep.
No one is.
Yep.
You know? So yeah, and there's one thing, there's one Joker line from oh man, what is the book? I forgot the name of the book right now. I'm blanking. But he said, like, as far as, like, what turned him into the Joker is, like, all it takes is one bad day.
Oh yeah.
And Luke had one bad day.
Yeah.
And it just changed everything.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, it's people are unrealistic if they're saying that Luke wasn't quote unquote realistic. The reality is he almost killed his dad.
Yeah.
He almost killed his nephew for similar reasons. So, but again, it's a story choice. Whether you would agree with it or not, and whether it's the right story choice or not, according to you, you need to move on. I have too many conversations with people who are just living in that moment of Rian Johnson deliberately tried to ruin Star, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. But we could
and people think that Luke he was this plucky, optimistic. I'm like, was he?
He was hopeful, but he wasn't. I mean, he wasn't.
All right, guys, we can do it. Like, no, he messed up a lot.
Yeah,
he messed up a lot.
Well, that's the thing about Star Wars character, and maybe that we were talking before about what is it about Star Wars that pulls us in. It might be the fact that there are no Supermen, there are no totally flawless characters. Whether you're
Darth Vader's flawless.
What's that?
Darth Vader's flawless.
Yeah, he is. He's perfect.
I'm kidding, he's no Vader. But yeah, absolutely. Like, yes. But yeah. There's no perfect person.
And honestly, the most boring characters are the ones that, I mean, look, Palpatine is a classic bad guy, but he's not interesting, right? He's just driven by unless you read Plagueis and the other pieces of the content we've gotten. He's just pure cackling bad guy. Yes, and that's, I mean, you need that in a story, but it is what it is.
I mean, I hope Rise of Skywalker did do a bit to open him up a little bit more. Like, he's got a family he had a son,
right?
Who was his wife or partner or something.
Yeah. That's an image I don't want to deal with.
That's stuff that could really put layers onto his character. Hopefully, at some point, we get some kind of a backstory for him. And how he came to power and all that stuff, and how he, if they take, what happened in the Plagueis book, how he, came to accept the dark side and all that. So,
could be. All right. Question number 4. Wow. I don't know how we got that far off, but that was good. Hey, no, you know what? It's all good. It's all good. Question number 4 is, what's your favorite Star Wars sound effect?
Oh man, probably it's gonna sound weird. Nah, not really. There's 2. All right, the cannon that's on the cannon, the turrets that are on the AT-AT.
Oh wow, that's great.
I like that. And the sound of the second the explosion from the second Death Star.
Yeah,
because if you listen to it, it almost sounds like someone gasps and then it explodes. You know what I mean? If you watch it again, I need an excuse to watch it anyway, so I'm gonna watch it tonight.
It's like there's a little release in the sound. In fact, I use it at the beginning of the show. It's one of the sounds that it's like
that initial explosion and then
it doesn't just boom. It's got
it's and then
No, that's a great one. And
Matt, you're yes. That Django seismic charge. I love that.
Yeah, and I loved seeing that come back in Mando. And Mandalorian somehow has mastered the ability to do fan service without us just being like, "All right, here we go." It was perfectly used. All right.
Yeah, it's not shoveled in. They massage it in. They massage all the fan service in.
They sprinkle it in with a little spoon of fan servicey goodness, I guess. Who's your favorite droid is the next question.
It used to be the savior of the galaxy, R2-D2. But it's slowly turning to 000 and BT-1 from Dr. Aphra. The polar opposite of 3PO and R2.
Yeah, I mean, like like yin and yang deliberately, right?
yeah.
The 000 might be if he can get a little bit more screen time or whatever, he could become one of my favorites. He could just if he can take that, like he's got that K2SO kind of snarkiness, but he's
mixed with HK-47 for sure.
Right. But just evil, which is always entertaining. So cool. All right, our next question is, if you could own any Star Wars spaceship or vehicle, what would it be? And I'm taking the Falcon off the table.
Damn it. All right. The Corvus, Infernal Squad.
Yes. That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's again, 108 episodes. Nobody said that. By the way, this may be the last time we ever do the 10 questions on the show, because we may retire it after next week with our super mega show. But, so no pressure. Don't screw these up, man. It's
oh man,
this is it. Question number 7. Of all the Star Wars collectibles you own, what's your favorite? Doesn't necessarily have to be something you could. Oh, he's already got it. He knows what it is. Here it comes. What? Who? What? How? Where did? There's a story there. I gotta hear it.
It was.
So for those of you listening, that's a bust of you as a Jedi.
Yeah. This was when I went to Star Wars Celebration 2. Gentle Giant Studios had a contest, and you can get your face scanned, and it was like you could have a Jedi minibus made for yourself. I was like, I'm gonna go for it. I'm not gonna get it, So I went in there and I did my angriest look I could do while I scanned my face. Then they showed it to me afterwards, and I was like, okay, thanks. I was like, that looks terrible. And I just I just left. I'm like, that's not happening. That's not gonna be me. Then I get a call 2 weeks later. I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah, that's my probably that, or what else? Yeah, that.
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, it's a Jedi bust of you. You can't beat that. That's amazing. And every time I ask that question on the show, I always expect like, oh, it's my 1977 blah blah blah. But no, it's always these really super cool things like that. And that's what I love. And that's what's so cool about Star Wars, is you take some ownership of your stuff, whether it's whether it is that action figure from 1978 or a bust of you as a Jedi, which is
or probably my drapes from when I was a child. These are my drapes from when I was a kid. Like I had those. This is my little Star Wars corner for web shows and stuff.
Right.
So yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. That's great. Question number 8, the Ocho. If you could be any Star Wars character, who would it be? Vader? Vader.
Vader-ish. Oh man! All right, who? Yeah, he's a character.
You could say Vader. I want to make sure I heard it right.
I would say. I mean, because Vader's my that's my top. That's my guy. I would say a more Force Finn with a mastery of the Force.
All right. That's we have to get episode 10, and because Finn has to become.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was very powerful. I guess that's what Ahsoka was telling him, and then that went all over the place. Yeah.
Oh man, yes.
Episode 10, Finn. Yeah.
I think the funniest thing to me is that the most Finn training we got was in the Lego Christmas special.
Yeah.
What's that say? We need that. We need that on screen. We need that to come to life. All right. So question number 9. What's your favorite Star Wars moment?
If I had to pick, oh man. Oof. All right, I'll take the easiest one for me. Is there was when I was a kid watching Return of the Jedi in the theater. This is the first time I was 8 years old. It's the first time I could go to the theater, like either by myself or with my other friends. It was a different world. The moment Luke steps off the skiff, that plank, and like turns around and then like latches onto it and like flips up and all that stuff, and then R2 shoots his saber out, is Like it's that moment, and it's another moment from Return of the Jedi when when the Falcon hits the that tower.
Yeah.
Inside the Death Star.
Yeah.
And when he's coming out that corridor and it explodes and like the Falcon races forward as the explosion comes out. Like, there's that.
Right, the fire takes just the back end of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's that, and another Return of the Jedi moment is when the X-Wings were going into that chute in the Death Star for the first time when they first went in. Like it takes my breath away every time.
Yeah. It's so funny. I don't ever really give Return of the Jedi enough credit. And it's not that I don't like it. It's just I think of the original trilogy. To me, I just have such a special place in my heart for 4 and 5 that Return of the Jedi just falls into the list. But it's moments like that you talk. I mean, Steele talks all the time about igniting the green, right? And that moment, and even the music that's played during that whole scene is so
in Mando
no, in Return of the Jedi when he ignites that green saber for the first time, right? When he gets it from R2, and there's just there's so much power in that movie that I think sometimes gets a little bit overlooked, and I don't know why that is. But
people think it's too many Muppets and Ewoks, and even though when you watch it as a kid, you all loved it.
It's so true.
But yeah.
It's one of the things that I think is funny is we look back and I think about my dad, who is the reason that I'm such a sci-fi geek, and he and his friends. I remember them talking about in Jedi the Ewoks, so just a bunch of teddy bears. And to me, I was 13, so I mean I was kind of on that edge of but they didn't bother me at all. But I think every Star Wars apprentice Ewok, hey Brandon says never enough Ewoks, he's right, but every Star Wars has that thing, and I don't care which movie it is, you have that goofiness, and people who lose sight of that are losing sight of what Star Wars is.
Absolutely. I never apparently I never grew up, so it's all fantastic to me. Even the Porgs.
Yeah. I mean, it just works. And I remember I used to have on this 10 questions segment, if you had to pick Jar Jar Binks, Ewok, or Porgs, which would you pick? And I picked those 3 because those are the 3 most divisive from each trilogy. And I'll never forget my first guest, episode 0, my pilot was with my daughter, who this was 2 years ago. She was 9 years old. And when I asked her that question, she said, "That's not fair. I love them all." And but that's right. That's correct. Us, when you're older, you're like, well, I didn't like Porgs because they were clearly a marketing tool. No, Porgs are awesome. Porgs are what they are. They're there for that because it's Star Wars. So awesome. So you had 3 favorite Star Wars moments, but I'll let it go because I like you. You're a good guy. But the final question of the top 10 questions, or not top 10, but the 10 questions is, what is your favorite or go-to Star Wars quote?
There are too many because I'm a walking script of at least the first 6. I still am learning all the last 3. But I don't know if you can see it. I have a Vader tattoo here, like of his.
Oh, very cool.
So in Arabic, it says, "I find your lack of faith disturbing." So that may be it. That may be it. Either way, they're probably all Vader lines, which are my favorites. Like "Apology accepted, Captain Nita."
Right.
There's so many.
Yeah,
but that's probably "I find
amazing.
your lack of faith disturbing."
That's great. That's awesome. This is the boy that never grew up must have been sprinkled with bed sand. Yes. Go check out Bantha.
Please do.
But not with your children. We need to.
No, don't bring your kids to that one.
We need to make sure that's.
Yeah, don't want to ruin them yet.
But damn, it's absurd and hilarious. And so, I just want to thank the Banthaverse boys, the Blue Bantha Milk guys for having us on. That was fantastic. Well, Chris, this has been an awesome hour, man. Thank you so much for hanging out. And
thanks for having me, bro.
Tell people where they can find you on the interwebs.
You can find me on Twitter at Chris Ryons. It's just my name. CHRISRYONS. Same thing on Instagram. Same thing on Facebook. And of course, at Broaxium. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. That's for you, Dan. So yeah, you can find us all over the place. Please, come check us out. Sub the channel. Check out our videos. We got a lot more stuff coming up. It's going to be fantastic.
Awesome. Very good, man. Well, thank you so much. And let's do this again sometime, man.
Please. You got to come on our show, man. Well, you
I was on for 5 minutes last week, but I'll be coming on. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for hanging out, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Well, that wraps it up for this episode of Around the Galaxy. Thanks to our guests, and thank you for hanging out. If you had fun, please like, subscribe, and share. If you really liked it, please feel free to head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeyondTheBlastDoors. You can also find that link on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com, where you can keep up with this show and all the shows on the Beyond the Blast Doors network, as well as find a link to our merch store. And if you use the code ATGCast, you'll get 10% off your order. So until next time, this has been Pete Fletzer, and we'll see you for our next trip around the galaxy.
Around the Galaxy is copyright 2021 Pete and Seat Studios. Our music is brought to us by the band Silver Colored Knob, whose music can be found on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find music.